Today, we are diving deeper into Fabric. My name is Chris Wagner, Director of Data Solutions at Baker Tilly. I'm here with Marcus, architect, Fabric extraordinaire. Marcus, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Chris. Appreciate the intro and excited to dive into Fabric more.
Well, okay. So we've been talking about like the data warehousing side recently. What are we going to be doing inside there today?
Well, Chris, the last couple of videos, we've been laying the groundwork for our metadata-driven framework we're configuring in our data warehouse to eventually use in our pipeline process that we're going to create. One more component we need to do is we need to create a stored procedure that's going to capture our pipeline audit data and write it back to our data warehouse table that we created. So we're going to dive into how to create a stored procedure within a Fabric data warehouse and then use that later on in our pipeline.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's check it out.
All right, let's head over to my screen here. And I'm going to pull in a shared query here where I have that stored procedure outlined and defined. Okay, so starting at the top, we're going to have our create procedure line. We're going to name that. We're going to store this in our audit schema that we created in a previous video. We're going to call this procedure p_pipeline run upsert. Now, upsert standing for two things that are going to be happening in this procedure. One is an insert statement, which is going to start on line 16 here. The other is an update statement, which starts here on line 26. So the word upsert standing for both an insert and an update statement happening in this procedure.
A question, Marcus. Now I know stored procedures were a thing in SQL Server and in Synapse. Do these follow the same rules as a SQL Server or Synapse stored procedure?
They do, Chris, and that's a great question. So the same functionality you would expect in t-sql on an on-premise SQL Server or an Azure SQL DB in the cloud, you can expect similar functionality with your stored procedures, which is another talking point in terms of what do I choose in Fabric. So Chris and I, we did a discussion on this a few videos ago where we laid out some considerations of, hey, I'm new to Fabric. Should I be choosing a lakehouse versus a data warehouse? And what kind of goes into those decisions? Well, again, if you have a lot of t-SQL code, such as stored procedures and things that you're looking to migrate, that may be a good telltale sign that, hey, we should at least incorporate a data warehouse in Fabric so that we can migrate that existing code and not have to waste that.
And that means it's super easy to migrate all this stuff over. That's awesome.
Exactly right. So diving into the stored procedure a little bit further here, underneath our create statement, we're going to lay out our parameters in the stored procedure. So these are going to be our pipeline audit information that we want to capture back into our data warehouse table. So you can see here, these are going to look very similar if you watch one of our previous videos where we outlined how to do this within a Fabric notebook. Same behavior here, only we're going to accomplish it with a stored procedure in t-SQL. So we're going to lay out all of our pipeline run data that we want to capture as parameters. We are then going to insert those values that we will get from our pipeline into our table if it's a new record. Else, if we are updating an existing record, then we're going to update those values as well in that existing table record. So I'm going to go ahead and run this statement to create that stored procedure. And we can see that that successfully completed. I'm going to go up into my audit schema. And after my warehouse refreshes, we can see that that stored procedure now exists in my audit schema. And I can then leverage that in my Fabric pipeline.
This is fantastic. So now we just tack this on in the pipeline?
Yep, come back for the next video where we'll show you how to incorporate that in a pipeline step.